Well, it must be Wednesday because I'm looking at the original Coach Carter. How you doing, Coach? How you doing? How you doing?
Man, glad to be here and glad to have. Hope everybody's having a good week, and we're glad you're joining us.
Yeah, welcome to Youth Central Sports. I'm Charles Morse with Coach Vince Carter, where we come to you every Wednesday right here at Youth Central Sports. And hey, did the hurricane affect you guys at all? Because I know you know you're more west, but did you guys get any of that rain or anything like that? I mean, people, he's up in Tennessee, because I'm the abandoned child. You know, he left me, and so he's up in Tennessee now. But anyway, go ahead, Vince. Go ahead. I mean, did you guys get any of the rain? I mean, get any of the weather?
That's why I'm in Tennessee. No, we were not affected by this at all. There were some of the outlying bands for us, and were about midway from us, but we actually got no rain whatsoever, no wind. Fortunate this time, we really didn't get much involvement.
Okay, did you? Because I mean, I know your son went to North Carolina, and do you have any people up there?
Yeah, my oldest daughter was there, and I talked with her the other night. And she said she lost power, like on that Friday night for a little bit of time. But she's in it too. She was at Raleigh, North Carolina, or Garner, really, which is right outside of Raleigh. Didn't get much, some rain, some wind, but winds. So she fared very well. A lot of rain though. A lot of rain for her.
Yeah,
she sits up high, sits up on the hill. So she's not in any danger of any flooding but that could be a difference.
Yeah, I had some relatives there, aunt, uncle, cousins, lots of relatives there, and the most they had was power was out. They were blessed that they did see a lot of rain, but that really was it. Power went out for a little while, but other than that, that was it.
Right.
Looking at all of what happened, and I think there's a total of about 35 people now that they lost their lives, because of the storm. So just checking to see.
Situation. I mean,
oh yeah. I mean, that's
slow moving storm, dumping an awful lot of rain. Bad scenario.
Oh yeah. Wanted to ask you. Oh, by the way, I mean, there's so much going on in sports, and and I got some sad news earlier today. I don't know if you heard, but by the way, we may have a Pittsburgh Steelers fan tuning in as well, because he, my neighbor said that he's gonna, check us out, and he's a Pittsburgh. So we're gonna talk about the Steelers as well. So I got a question about what the heck is going on with that, but we'll talk about that later. But man, did you hear about what's going on at UCF?
No, what happened at UCF?
Young man was one of the football players today was arrested. And this is part of what I wanted to do with my summit this year. So this would be a good topic, part of what we want to talk about. And I want to ask you, because as you know, especially now, but this is supposedly what happened. I'm not sure, but this is supposedly what happened. And as you know, and what you try to say to the young men, nothing good happens anywhere after 2:00 in the morning. But it's hard to tell young people that. Okay, so he goes, and him and the young girl comes back to the room, and she's intoxicated. Vince, he's been arrested for rape. Trying to get the details on the story, but according to some of the football players, they was knocking on the door trying to say, don't do this to the intoxicated girl. But the girl came up to the room, and for what I understand, I haven't got all the details, it got to a point where she said, I don't want to do this anymore. So you know what that entails. So if it goes from I don't want to do this anymore, whether or not there's alcohol involved or whatever that is. So now he's all over the news. He's, football player. I think he's from Miami, somewhere around, the Miami area. But that's what's, so it's an unfortunate situation where yesterday this man was going to school on the football team. Now he's blasted all over the news, alcohol in the room. So we both know the story. So my question to you that I'm asking, what conversations, because you've coached AAU and you've been around, and even now, what type of conversations do you have, with the team basketball now, and did you have those type of conversations with AAU when you coach?
Well, first of all, let me say regarding the people involved here. We got this young man that's probably having a horrific time with his career opportunities, but also that young lady's integrity is not questioned. And there are some on both sides of this scenario. And that's the sad thing about it. That two people are being affected. Now, wherever you want to put fault, but two lives are going to be heavily affected. And to your question, I do it now. I did it always then try to talk about good right effect, not only the sport that you're involved, but the person that you become. And I try to realize that things that you do will follow you. In particular, today with social media. We just had a conversation 2 days ago, a little small seminar about that very same thing for job hunting and applying to certain schools at the next level from high school to collegiate. They look at your Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of stuff and look and see what you're doing, stuff that you're posting on there. And here's a situation where you guys about this kind of situation because they're young men and they're growing up and they see life differently and opportunities come, because no matter how good they are at the sport that they're playing, they're still a young man growing up. And he is maturing as a man. And sometimes we give athletes what appears to be a rite of passage in things that they do. This is reflective in today's society, either professional level, the collegiate level, the division 1, 2, 3, JUCO, all the way across the board. And while I'm not accusing anybody particularly, but I do think it's time to clean this up. It's time to enforce the law for whatever the law is. Let's make sure everybody it's applicable to everybody. And so you talk to these kids about making good decisions. I always talk to young men about respecting women. And the older the kids I deal with, I remind them about this specific scenario. When you're dealing with a young lady and the mood changes, or particularly her decision changes, that situation, and she says, no, this scenario has ended. I've done it on diversity training. One of the topics I talk about all the time is when she says no. I don't care where we are in the process. When she says no, or I don't want to, or I've changed my mind, this scenario has ended. I do realize there's some extenuating circumstances sometimes that might say, golly, I got to stop right now. But the bottom line is, yes, you do. So they're forewarned. And I know at the collegiate level, especially the level that they're playing, these kinds of conversations have been had. If not specifically in general, there have been general conversations about making good decisions. And a lot of times they talk specifically about relationships. But young men, there's two conversations. It's about protecting yourself, alcohol consumption, drug usage, the opportunity that it provides for you to be harmed. Not only it provides for you to make bad decisions as an aggressor, or you are the recipient of some aggression. So it constantly talked about. I don't know. I haven't seen any numbers in a number of years to say whether it's gotten better or worse, but about 4 or 5 years, going back about 5 years ago, there was still an increase in this date rape situation, if you want to call it that. I think that was one of the ways it was being characterized. I don't know whether the numbers are up or down, but I do know the circumstances still exist.
Part of, what I want to do the seminar on this year, and it just, I was thinking about, because that's one of the topics that, I wanted to cover, as well, because you and I both know that that is very important.
Yes.
But I wonder what the conversation is like for the girls, you know, because I'm not we already know the conversation that we're talking about, but I wonder when you're talking to the females, I wonder if there's ever a conversation about their aggressiveness as well, in addition to, understanding how they can put themselves in a situation when it comes to drugs and when it comes to alcohol. Because the first thing that they're going to say is, she agreed to go back to his room, however late it was. So then it's the interpretation of saying, well, maybe this is something that because I mean, you and I know how this conversation going to go, whether it's truthful or not truthful, but you know how the conversation is going to go. But I wonder, and I would love to invite or talk to someone who's coaching on the collegiate level or even in the high school when it comes to the female athlete, and what that conversation is like and what is the feedback that they're getting, because I think that's very important too, because sometimes, and what I'm talking about now has nothing to do with what took place with the player from UCF. I'm speaking in the terms of, I wonder what it's like when the female can be aggressive, if that makes
Charles,
sense.
let me just tell you on a limited basis now. I mean, this what I'm saying is based on a very limited interaction and information that I have. Conversation is the same, pretty much. You just reverse the gender. The situation is still the same about being responsible, making good decisions, understanding what can happen to you, what you lose when you become inebriated or intoxicated and or on drugs. It's not gender specific. I think the girls' reactions are the same as the boys. I'm not going to do that. It's not going to happen to me, But then emotions get involved, and you like this guy or this young lady, and these things happen. There have been statistics to show that females are very aggressive now, more so than ever before. They make the first move. They make the first step. So I've been in counseling sessions where we've talked to young men about that aggressive young lady. What do you do when she makes the first move that you're thinking about making? She makes that move for you. So that conversation is the same. What's not happening is we're not absorbing the information. And unfortunately, we get a better understanding when it happens to us, and that's too late. Because what I see is two lives being ruined over a bad decision. So I can't speak specifically, but I do know in general that conversation is being had. A little bit different on the girl side. We tell guys don't be fathers too early, and we tell young ladies don't be moms too early. So same kind of conversation, and it still needs to continue to happen. I think some kids think, well, I'm too old for that. I understand. I know about that. Yeah, but that moment of indecisiveness that causes you to make a bad decision, or passion, or whatever you want to call it, the results are the same. Two lives being ruined. But I do know.
No.
It is being.
Go ahead.
But it's being discussed. It is being discussed.
Yeah.
But Charles, let me say this. Let me say this. Look at society right now. You look at the Urban Meyer situation, where that was not specifically involving an athlete as much as it was involving administration, people who should be giving us guidance that are making bad decisions. Now, let's take it a step further. Look at the situation that's going on with the Dallas Mavericks. Poor management. I'm surprised to hear, and I've been reading, and I saw some live conversation with Mark Cuban today, also the young lady who he hired several months ago to be the CEO. I was listening earlier to the lead counsel who did the investigation. I'm amazed by hearing from a management standpoint, which I think is one of my strengths and things that I know something about, is the lack of leadership that has occurred there. And Mark Cuban is a very smart businessman. That based on the amount of money, but one-on-one management mistakes that I'm shocked that he made. That given the type of organization that he has been known to run. So they're an example. I'm saying all that to say there's an example of what the kids are seeing, they're seeing it at the other level. So you careful that we show example now. This thing with Cuban and the Mavericks has been going on for some while. And for those who may not be aware,
20
there
years.
has
I just saw it up on the screen. 20 years.
Yeah. So, but he just really got hired this young lady about a year ago, maybe less than a year ago. The new CEO to come in to change. There's no excuse. There's absolutely no excuse for the number of people who were harmed and damaged and harassed, both male and female, mostly female people and stuff like that. That's the example that they see. If something's not done, what would make me not do it? They're scrambling trying to clean this thing up. I like what they say they're doing. Time will bear them out. But that's the example that we.
Well, part of what's on the list on my notes today was to talk about Cuban and the fact that this that had been going on, and it
under his
goes,
nose now. I mean,
it goes
on
back
the
to
non-basketball side.
Yeah,
but it still occurred. I mean, it's side. I mean,
right. And this been going on, and as far as what it just said on the Tinker, there was it's been going on in the organization for 20 years, and here is a gentleman who I guess was investigated for the Dallas Mavericks was it's as many as 15 women. Things at times are different, and
no different. I mean, but you gotta ask this question now. You gotta ask this question. Having said that, times are different. When are we're committing the same situation, we're doing the same thing, and in the severity of these things, how they're punishing is far more crucial now than it ever has been. And with today's society and social media, all this kind of thing, it's blown up so big, and that it can both sides of the fence. This thing with Cuban is going to be tough because it's going to hurt his integrity as a business owner, and it should hurt him as a man. Because one of the things that came out that shocked me is that on the non-basketball side, we're talking about the corporate side, the administrative side, there are times they never saw Cuban. Never saw him. This is the owner, man. This is a high-profile owner, very successful owner. But on the basketball side, they saw him all the time. On the non-basketball side, the operational side, the administrative side, people never saw him. And from what I know, in my experience, you touch everybody. You need to be seen by those people who are behind the scenes, because a lot of times that's where your greatest success comes from those behind the scene people, and that's just good management. It's good I believe in building relationships, and I would want to know as many people that work with me as I possibly could. I was shocked to hear that. Then when he was exposed to it, he trusted a guy. And that's the part that got me. Okay, you the top dog, and I got one of my senior persons that come and say something to me. I'm just going to trust him. I am going to trust him, but I'm going to follow up with him also, just to make sure that we all got all our bases covered. That didn't happen. And looking at him today on The Jump, on ESPN, The Jump with Rachel Nichols, his expression and stuff, as it should be, he was distraught. You could see he was embarrassed. He felt bad about it. But Mark, that's your fault for not having been involved. Now, he's trusting people to do the right thing. I understand that, but it's still about accountability. It's still about accountability and still leadership. So those things make it hard for kids to kind of understand. What are you telling me not to do? Well, I just saw somebody else do that. Not a good excuse to do it, but it's hard. You're swimming upstream, so to speak.
Well, there's a lot that you just said, but there's a lot in there. And then the thing is because we, the people, see him being successful, but he's successful in this area of his life, making money. Doesn't mean that he's success or he has these skills in the other area over here Partly is what you just said, but understanding it.
But they kind of go together.
Well, not necessarily, Vince.
I
Not
mean,
necessarily. And
well,
no. What I mean is that they do go together. But when you think you know somebody, when you think you know
yeah.
somebody, and then you come to find out that I only know this part of you when I think I know you, and you already know that up on that upper echelon, you then become big-headed. You make a lot of money, and you think you the man, and you think that now the rules, you making your own rules, and then if I'm hiding stuff, there's a lot in there. There's a lot in there, though,
But
because money make
but
people
the,
stupid. you know,
but this
you know.
the issue. One of the concerns thing I kept listening to see if how much was he involved. He was not involved in himself. I mean, he did what I think you're supposed to do. You build a credible team. You thought you built a credible team. You give people responsibility because you trust them, you vet them, you think they can do what you want them to do. They let you down. I get that. The fact that he followed up with them and then putting some policies, because they had weak policies. Pay discrepancies between male and female. There were hiring practices that were inequitable, promotions and all of that. I'm like, okay, I know you focusing on some other things and you hired some people to do this, but you got to check in every now and then. I really relieved to hear that he's not being accused, but his executives are, which reflects him still. So being successful, you built a team, but you got to check your team every now and then. And it just sounds like there were a lot of things that he didn't do. I think because he was successful, was running well, he didn't hear some of this. Reason to think it wasn't getting to him. And I think if he had been around more, he probably would have had more insight. Just my take on things. I don't know that to be a fact, but he got blindsided, and in the worst way. So I applaud him for his business, but then I'm worried about challenging him on his ownership, because your organization is out of control, and there were things that went on that he didn't even know about. And now he's just finding out about them. What the damage is done. Those people have left the company. They got a bad taste in them about the company, which reflects him. So no excuse for not being involved is what I think.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean by, sometimes we think that, they have it together, but they don't, because we see success here and success there.
Mm-hmm.
And, he's making the $10 million donation.
Right.
But I think it's personality. Because, like you said, you saw him and he seems concerned, which means that he acknowledges it. There's a difference between somebody who don't acknowledge stuff, who's at the forefront, who don't acknowledge stuff, versus somebody who will acknowledge there's a problem and then they try to correct it.
The thing that was interesting today is the lady that he put in charge as the CEO, and she was on. They were on together, and she shared a couple of things that were taking place that even Mark didn't know, because he gave her carte blanche. He said, "You do what you have to do, whatever it takes, whoever it affects, to include myself. You get this right." And she's gone in and case in point, they put a basketball court in her office with the intent to build a bridge between the administrative side of the business and the basketball, so that he would come over, he would feel comfortable. Hint, hint, you don't come see us. We don't see you. But this lady has been straightforward, and she said some things today that was very damaging to the organization. But what I appreciated about him is that when he hired her, he said right then, she is in charge. If she comes back and I'm at fault, I'm at fault. I'm giving her carte blanche. And what I see so far, what I've read, and that she's getting it done. She's trying to build a new culture there. And to your point, he's accepting that. He's accepting guilt, blame, being responsible. And you could just tell he was hurt by it. I mean, he was really disappointed that And he admitted today, I made a mistake. And then Rachel grilled him on a couple of things, and he went right back to his same statement. You are right. That is my fault. I should have done a better job, which I don't think there's anything else you can say.
Right,
But also to your point,
see,
the
that's
integrity of what you're
right,
doing.
right. But see,
What else can
that's
you say?
what I mean. We are forgiving people. He's taking responsibility. He's going to try to go in the right direction. He's not going to try to
Yeah.
evade and avoid and make up excuses and lie and deceive, and who we
And
have been in the forefront to have seen recently.
but
So,
well, the $10 million that he gave is 4 times more than the NBA would possibly have charged him with. So he's saying, I want to make a difference. I want to clean it up. I want to do it. And one of the things that Rachel made a comment about, which I thought was, I wanted to hear his response, is that he admitted to not looking deep enough. So her thing was, what do you say to your other team owners? Look deep. Go look deep, because there are probably things happening that you don't know about. Try to get a handle on them early, and that kind of thing, which I greatly appreciated, because that's, again, I believe, not giving him a pass, but I certainly believe that he's accepting it and he's trying to make a difference.
but now I'm going to ask you something, Vince. With money and that level of executives or whatever, are you surprised?
Well, given today's society and no, to the extent that he had the issues that they have, yes, I am. But the fact that it did occur, no, I'm not.
There you go. Yeah, man.
No,
Because,
I'm not surprised that it happened, because it happens all over the place. It's
Right.
just whether or not he reported. After you hear about it, in the case it was reported, nothing got done. The guy was supposed to get. They were commenting earlier. I think Cynthia Marshall, they call her Cent. She's the new CEO. They were talking about people who one guy in particular was mandated to get some counseling, and after he had been involved in some bruises on women and stuff, and it was 6 months before they got there. Well, see, that's that's poor leadership. Now Mark will get blamed for that because he's the owner and so on, but that leadership guy there, that was his responsibility. He knew about this and he delayed it. See, that good old boy thing gets in, and I think we got to be held accountable as leaders. We've got to do the job the way the job is supposed to be done. My friend or not, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Urban Meyer's situation was the same situation, taking care of a friend. What happened at Penn State up there with the situation that occurred at Penn State is looking out for your friend. Well, you're wrong is wrong. And I think it's tough to do that. We work together. We've been through a battle together, but the sake of the other person, you got to come forward and tell the truth.
right. No, I'm not. I'm going to ask a kind of a crazy, stupid question. With something like Penn State, we don't have to talk about the severity of what that was. But do you think the mindset at that time that they just didn't look at it for it to be the severity that it was, and they just blew it underneath the thing, and I'm just trying to cover up from a boy, no big deal, because they had no idea that it was going to come out the way that it did? Because the good old boy network,
I think, Charles, I think two things took place there. Number one, they didn't want to ruffle the feathers of things that were going well. So hopefully he's not going to do this again. And maybe somebody mentioned it to him, hey man, you might want to clean that
that's
up.
what I meant by
Yeah.
yeah.
We're going to try. I'm not going to say anything, but you might want to check yourself on that.
Right.
Okay, I know how it happens, but what happened, this thing got it was bigger than they thought it was. He was more out of control, and it got past them. And then they tried to do damage control. It was too late. Because once it got outside of their circle, they couldn't control it. And that's what happened. It got outside of their circle. It's the same thing what we're talking about here with the Mavericks. It got outside of that circle. Other people got involved. And so that situation there, I'm 100% believe that's what happened.
Right.
And then he and Sandusky and what was I can't think of his name right now, the former coach, God, I can see his face. I can't call his name. But they had been friends for years, and I guess he was saying, as my friend, I just don't believe he would do this. but again, I go back to my previous statement: wrong is still wrong.
Right. I mean, one of the best college coaches in the history of college
Yeah.
football. You know, he's.
Hmm.
I mean, he's one of the best college. I mean, he done passed away now, but they done took
Yeah.
down his statue. But he was one of the best college coaches in the history, and all of that just went to the wayside.
Yeah. Off of not anything that he did, but a lack of a
Right.
decision that he made. I mean, he didn't actually do it, but he was
Right.
aware of it, and he turned his head. And I guess he thought, my telling his friend, "Hey, man, you might want to clean that up." And oh, don't worry, I'll take care. It won't happen again.
Right. Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
everybody in trouble.
Man. Question, man. What's going on with the Steelers, man? What's going on with the Steelers?
I think the Steelers are subject. They are just falling into the habit. The same thing that's taking place with New England. Uh, we they're accusing Thompson, the coach of Pittsburgh, of not having control of the team. They say he's more of a player's coach, and he doesn't discipline them enough or put a tight on. I don't know. He's won with them before, but I just think it's time for a change of the guard. I've got a lot of old players. Either he has to change mentality, or what they're going to come down to, they're going to have to change coaches. And I think the Steelers and the Patriots, it's playing out in front of us, and other teams are faced with the same situation. It's just that theirs is coming to light. It's starting to unravel. They're just not looking sharp. Now, can they clean it up? Yeah, they got plenty of time. But then again, they don't have that much time,
Right.
But it's early in the season, but you got to correct it now. I mean, it's got to get corrected here in the next week or so. And some of that is that locker room might be out of control. If that locker room's out of control, we're in deep trouble up there in Pittsburgh.
Well,
That's the situation happening in New England. You got headbutting going on in New England. They lost that game the other week. And there's been a lot of rumbling in the back. There's a lot of locker room conversation going on. It's not positive. And it's not spilling over to the field.
well, yet there's a book coming out. It's called "The Making of the Greatest Football Coach of All Time." It's a book about the life of Belichick. It's set to be released next week. The author spoke with 350 people, including Belichick. And of course, Brady is saying if you marry 18 years to a grouchy person who gets under your skin and never compliments you, after a while you want to divorce him. Tom knows Bill is the best coach in the league, but he's had enough of him. If Tom could, I think he would divorce him. That's what is written.
Well, to that effect, Belichick is also looking for a new wife. So, it seems to be a mutual decision. Everybody seems to be on board with it. It's a mutual decision.
Well, he said that Brady grew so disenchanted with Belichick that in March, he wasn't sure if he wanted to come back for his 19th season. But when New England traded away the quarterback to the 49ers, Brady felt obligated to return. So
I don't believe that. I don't
Right.
believe that's the way the scenario went. But nevertheless, he's there. But he does not look happy. He doesn't look comfortable. And that's not something you've seen in the past. And to hear that they're not on the same page spells disaster
right,
for them. So, and like it's going to come down to the fact they are going to separate.
right.
It's going to happen. And I don't mean it maliciously, but it's inevitable. It's going to happen. They've been together a long time, and they have had a lot of success, but they're going to have to change. And sometime in changing, that means I got to change quarterbacks or I got to change coaches, and sometime both.
Well, I don't think Belichick is going anywhere because it's time for Brady. I mean, Brady is only going to be around another year or two. So, if
Well, he's
so-
talking about going to some other teams too, probably next year. And one of the conversations I heard is determining who is the real winner. Is it Brady and his ability to quarterback, or is it Belichick and his ability to coach? That's a silly question. That's a silly
Oh man,
comment in my mind.
oh, I mean, for me, that's an easy one.
I think it's easy. I mean, without a doubt, I think it's the system that he put
Yeah,
around it. He was
yeah.
able
I
to
mean,
execute in that system to the
right.
highest
I
level.
mean, every
But
time
I
they've
don't
had a
know that.
quarterback when Brady was out, the quarterback was successful.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that's good. I mean they pick some good guys and all of that, but still the system, man, is how they
yeah.
work. Uh,
It's the system
uh,
that.
uh,
Yeah, I mean
but
that's a
there's a
no
lot of
brainer.
teams faced with that too now. There's a lot of teams faced with this inevitable breakup. It happened to the Cowboys. Nobody thought they'd get rid of Tony Romo, but they had to. It was just time. I mean, some of that was for Tony's health too, although he took it as a slap in the face about my ability to play. It wasn't that as much as it was. It was partially that, but more so about Tony's health. If he took another bad hit, Tony was going to be done anyway, and he could
Hmm.
have had a life threatening situation because he couldn't take another concussion or another broken anything, in my mind. And so that change had to take place. I mean,
And
and I was
honestly,
Romo.
and and I think that's why I think it was so easy for him to retire because all
Yeah,
of those injuries, you know.
yeah. Well, he put on a brave face where I could still get it done. Yeah, Tony, you could, but at what cost?
Right.
And you are getting older. Let's Father Time is creeping up on him too. And now you got an easy job. Sit on commercials, answer the phone, spit out a few, and he get in the booth and you got to take another hit. Hey, life is good.
Yeah, but now I will give him his props because to me he was never a bad quarterback. He was
No,
always a good
no.
quarterback.
When he was healthy,
Right.
Cowboys ran like a well-oiled machine. But he couldn't stay healthy, and that's not necessarily his fault per se. But
Right.
uh, Tony took some bad hits,
Oh
and
yeah.
his body just pulled up. Dak's a younger guy. He's a more physical than Tony was. They're just different kinds of quarterback. He throws the ball well. He can run it better. Tony wasn't a runner, and Dak is. And to Dak's credit, he can also throw the ball. I thought week two they looked against a good. They're one of their rival teams. They played a good game of football.
Well,
They looked good on both sides. I thought they gave up some easy touchdowns toward the end, but nevertheless, they played a good game. They looked better than they did in week one. So change is
Vince,
inevitable.
Vince. Now I saw that game.
Hmm.
Giants suck, man.
That's not the Cowboys'
Giants
fault. I
suck.
mean, we don't care that they suck. But we don't care. If they weren't ready to play, then they should have canceled the game.
Giants is not a
'Cause
good football team, man.
we don't care. All Cowboy fans
Well, no,
care
no, no,
less
no,
about it.
no, no, no. This doesn't have anything to do with the Cowboys. I'm just saying the Giants are not a good football team. I,
Well,
I would be surprised if they win 6 games this year.
Well, the whole division looked a little shaky because even Philadelphia came out and looked a little ragged, and they pulled it off, but they looked a little unglued. They kind of got it back together a little
No,
bit, but
but they look totally different than what the Giants look now. That's just like one of the things that I was telling you before when it came on last week when I told you Florida State looked like Florida International or Florida Memorial. They came out
well,
and look even worse. That I
yeah,
don't
they're
know.
going.
I know absolutely nothing about their coach. I know nothing about that brother, but that brother's not going to be there long. Cause Florida State,
I think they
they
will.
look they look terrible. They don't have
I think they will.
that thing that when they come out on the field, they look like Florida Memorial out there, or Florida International or somebody. They don't
Well,
look like Florida
mark my
State.
words. Mark my words. They're gonna be
Okay,
all right. They, they,
huh?
they're not winning. They're not winning it. They're not gonna be in the national champ run, and they might not win the ACC. But you're gonna see a different team in the next couple of weeks because
Nick,
I, I just knowing what he brings to the table, a big adjustment it has. I'm not making excuses for him, but I know about change, and I mean, and that's one of the things that happens is going to happen with them. Um, it's inevitable, I mean, and they hold like Florida State, University of Florida, they hold everything to high standards. So when change comes and they have to get that mediocre so they can get back on top, that's when everybody wants to fall and jump on them, but it's inevitable. You can't help it. And this guy is not going to come in and be what Jimbo Fisher was, because he doesn't. It's not going to happen like that. Now Jimbo looks good down in. I say that. I will say this: Jimbo looked good down in Texas A&M, but they still lost. They played a good game, but they still lost. A loss is a loss. There are no moral victories.
They got Alabama coming up this week. What you think?
That's a problem. Alabama well off. I don't care how long you've been coaching, wherever you've been coaching. You can ask them guys. Alabama well off machine. They don't play. I'm not an Alabama fan, but I'm not necessarily a Lou Saban fan. But what they put on the field every day, I've heard. I know of a couple of kids they've recruited, and I've heard the recruitment conversation, or some of it anyway. They impressed me. I started to say, listen, can I play for Alabama? The way you're talking, I want to play. So and watching Lou Saban conduct practice, preseason practice and stuff like that, man, this thing is motivating to me. He comes in and he makes sense, and there's no hoopla. Either you get it done or I get somebody else to do it.
Right.
I'm gonna show you how to do it. Now it's up to you to get it done. If you can't get it done, I'm not mad with you, but I'm gonna get somebody else. And that's just how it can. So that's gonna be a problem for anybody that playing.
I got a tweet from Kendall. Remember Kendall, our guest who ran track from USC?
Yeah, young lady out of Michigan.
Huh?
Was she out of Michigan?
No. USC.
Oh, USC. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, boy, I hope Kendall not watching.
Forgive an old man.
No, she tweeted me. No, she didn't tweet me. She put on Twitter that the young lady that won the U.S. Open, she's from Pembroke Pines, Florida. With the controversy with Serena and Nicole and
I didn't know that.
She tweeted that because Kendall is from Miami,
right?
So she's right up the road. So she said, hey, know that she's from Pembroke Pines.
I didn't recall seeing that. I've heard of that young lady before. A couple of years ago, her name popped up on one match that she had where she played somebody and had a good showing for herself, but didn't advance. I had lost track of her completely. To see her come back and the way she handled herself, that was an impressive victory.
Oh yeah. And then it was just sad that actually that all that mess that took place with with the official and all that took away from her victory and stuff like that. But
I thought Serena did a good job of trying.
Yeah,
she
did a great job
could enjoy
trying to acknowledge her.
Yeah, and allow her to be the champion that she was, because she didn't. No matter what Serena said, she got beat.
Right. Oh yeah.
You got beat. You lost. But she did it. She did it with great style.
Right. Okay, you ready for your sprint, man?
Took a lap earlier, so I'm ready.
Okay. All right. I don't know if you remember last week, we was talking about going, the movie at the drive-in, right?
Yeah.
And I asked you about the last movie, but what was the first movie you saw at the drive-in?
I can't even remember that. I definitely can't remember that.
Okay.
I do not remember.
Oh, okay. What was the best movie you saw at the drive-in?
Wow. I'm going to have to come back to you on that one, too.
Okay.
That's been a long time.
What car did you take to the drive-in?
Pontiac. It was a Pontiac Bonneville. I remember that.
Okay. What was the name of the girl that you took to the drive-in? Now, I know you remember that.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say that. I was supposed to take somebody else, so. So I'm going to leave that one alone.
How old were you the first time you drove a car?
Legally, or just the first time I drove a car?
No, the first time you drove a car.
I was 12.
12? Oh, all right. Well, you was younger than me. who in the neighborhood was the best at doing a wheelie on their bike? You know how you do a wheelie, on one wheel.
This,
Who
this
was the
young
best in the
lady down
neighborhood?
the street, the
Huh?
young lady down the street from me named Sarah. She could wheel a stink out of that thing. I tell you what, I was amazed. She
Oh,
was the
really?
best I'd seen. And then my best friend Jack was the second one.
Oh, all right, all right. I was the best in the neighborhood. I was the best in the neighborhood. Hey, hey, hey. Have you ever ran out of gas?
Yes.
Did you ever learn to ride a motorcycle?
No,
No?
no.
Oh man, when you come in
Never
town,
had
man,
an
I'm gonna
interest.
teach you. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
I'll do it, but I never had an interest.
All right. Okay. Albert Pujol or Reggie Jackson?
Reggie Jackson.
Vita Blue or Bob Gibson?
Ooh, tough one there, boy. I like Vita Blue though.
Oh, really? Really? All right. John Havlicek or Rick Barry?
John Havlicek.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Boy. Calvin Murphy or Nate Archibald?
Oh man, that's tough right there. I don't know. They were so much one. I'm gonna go with Nate Archibald.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Did you ever learn the 14-minute rap, the whole rap, Rapper's Delight?
No,
Hip, hop, hip, 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 hip. Did you ever learn the whole 14 minutes?
I didn't get 14 seconds of it, so no.
What? Not the Sugar Hill game. You mean to tell me you did what?
I got the first 14. I got the first 4 or 5 bars after that, and after that, I moved on to something else. Yeah, I was done. I got that far, and I said, okay, that's good enough. Next.
Wow, wow. Little did we know what that was gonna start, right?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
everything changed since hip hop, hip hip, the hip 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 hop. You don't stop.
A lot is changing. A lot changed, and we had no idea what was coming.
Right.
I'm sure
Oh
we
yeah.
did. Even the people heavily in the music industry, I'm sure some of them projected it was going to be different, but I don't think they thought it was going to be that different.
Hey, did you see where Brand was hired as the GM for the 76ers?
I thought that was interesting. I thought that was an interesting hire. I was somewhat surprised that he was selected. Kind of lost track of him, but I think he's a young enough guy. Obviously, he knows the game for him to get that position. So I think that's a good move for him. We'll see how it plays out. The younger guy to work with the younger talent. That's good.
Josh
I see
Gordon, man, going to the Patriots. Were you shocked? I mean,
Yeah,
hey
little
man,
surprised.
how you think that's gonna work out for that brother?
I don't know, man. I mean, Belichick can make some things happen. He's good on getting those kinds of guys to come in and buy in and get it done. Let's see if he still got magic. Let's see if he still got the magic to make that happen.
Okay, yeah, yeah. The Browns would get a 2019 5th-round pick, while the Patriots would get the 2019 7th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
So, and what you think about that brother retiring at halftime with the Bills, man?
Yeah. I actually think I really thought that was interesting. You talk about a life-changing decision, being honest with yourself,
Right.
uh, just coming to grips with it all. I think he said, you know what? I done had enough. I just had enough. I think I would have waited till the game was over, but I get it. I get it. Most of those guys I talked to said when that moment comes, they're running from it, but when it comes, they know it's there. And that was a shocker for me. I thought maybe after the game he might say, you know what, Coach, I'm done. But at halftime he said, Coach, I'm done. I can't take no more. So you know what that means, Charles. That means through training camp he was struggling. He was struggling through training camp. training camp must have been miserable for him to come to this part of the game and say, "Listen, I just can't take no more. I'm out."
Well,
now, now,
usually though, Vince, in those scenarios, he's 30 years old and and he's been playing for 10 years. But
yeah, that's about right. That's
yeah,
about right. About
yeah, and
10, 12
usually you can
years.
kind of fake the funk to the end of the season, though.
He might have got benched or traded or something to that effect, and maybe he just, rather than go through that, because I know I just can't do it. I'm not gonna fake this anymore. I'm out. So that's unusual, because I thought he was considering it at halftime, and I later went back. So well, no, he didn't. Yeah, well, he considered it at the end of the first quarter. I'm out of this bad boy. I'm done. You know. I tell you what surprised me also is Jimmy Butler wanting to leave Minnesota after 1 year being with Thibodeau. That reunion, it seems as though that reunion, I'm not going to say it didn't work out, but it's not working out. Let's say that he wants to leave. I was shocked by that. I was also shocked that Dwayne Wade came back for another year with Miami, but he says this is his last year.
Yeah. Ryan Fitzpatrick played a great game.
Yeah, he's had two good
games. Again, we talked about it last week. Jameis Winston, when he come back, will he come back? I mean, would you make that move?
Well, two schools of thought. I think I said that last week, and I still stand by that. I'm paying a lot of money to Winston to be my number one quarterback. This guy who's number two is doing what I paid him to do, is to be number two, come in, step in, and be able to take care of things. Now, this kid's playing at a high level. I talked to a couple of people just to kind of get their feedback, and a couple of them said, I'd stay with him until he's not having a good game, then I put Winston back in. The other couple of people I talked to kind of felt like, well, Winston is my number one quarterback. I pay him the top dollar. I pay this other guy to be a backup quarterback to come in and do exactly what he's doing. It's Winston's team. Now, Winston go out there and doesn't have a good game. Guess what? I'm swapping roles. I'm putting this kid in because I know he can get it done. So two schools of thought, but no matter how you look at it, this guy has had two great games. I want to win. I think you got to look at what got me here, and that's a tough call for me personally. I'm gonna look at this kid here. I'm gonna put Winston back, but the moment he stubs his toe, I'm putting this kid back in.
You know what? I wonder what he's sitting there thinking though, because Fitzpatrick is like lights out right now. He's playing.
Right.
2 weeks in a row.
But knowing Winston, he's probably his ego is taking a hit right now. I want to hope that he thinks of it as we as a team, but I personally don't think that's how he looks at it.
Well, both of us know he's young and he's a little immature. But 2 weeks in a row you throw for 400 yards, and
that's impressive. I don't care how you look at it. That's very impressive, and you won.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to mention he's a personality, though.
Yeah. The Raiders, man. 0-2. 0-2.
Now I gotta ask you: are you surprised?
Did you see what your boy doing in Chicago? Who they gave up? The Raiders. Did you see what he's doing in Chicago?
Yeah. Well, Gruden made a big boy decision, and you got to trust him. If you make that kind of decision, you've got to know that he's planning for something. If not this year, next year. I'm not sure I'm not sure I would have done that, but I don't know the circumstances that caused him to do that. But that young man looked good the other night up there in Chicago, and maybe he was. You look at one of the things you want to trade for value. He probably could make more trades with him than he could anybody else because of who he is. So he sacrifices that to give up one player. Let me get 3 or 4 players in, or whatever it is that he was looking at. Now that's a big boy move. and I don't know that I would have done that, but that's why they hired him, and for him to make those kind of decisions. But it seemed, I'm like, gee, man, I don't know if I would have gave him up, but that might have been the only way he could make the trade to get what he wanted.
You know what was funny was, and I don't know if you if you saw this because Cleveland kicker, I think he missed a couple of field goals, extra point.
Mm-hmm.
I think he missed like 3 field goals. I think he missed the extra point, so on and so forth. Did you see in the middle of the week, the Cleveland Browns fans invited fans to come out to try out for a kicker? So they was in the middle of the street downtown. People was trying to kick field goals.
Now, for me, Charles, if I'm coaching a team, I gotta enjoy that, because that does show that your fan base is saying, "Listen, we'll come kick if that'll help you."
Hey, you can't do any worse.
Well, yeah, I mean, but the thing, if you look at it, if I'm in management, I'm looking at that as we've got community support. They really behind us. They'll do anything they can to help us win. They're standing by us for now. But you got to enjoy it. If I'm in management, I'm out there laughing my brains out about that one. I mean, I would actually go out there and say, guys, I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I can't seem to get nobody to kick the ball. Maybe one of y'all can kick the ball, and I'm okay with that. So, yeah, but that's fan loyalty there. Now that could turn into a mob too now. But right now, it's fan loyalty. And you got to enjoy that. That got to make them feel good.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, wow. Jimmy Butler trying to go to the Clippers, man. He want to go to the Clippers.
Yeah, again, I'm a little shocked by his wanting to, because I thought it was a great reunion between he and Thibodeau, but something happened that caused him to want to change. I was kind of surprised at that. But he said he didn't want to go to Lakers. He didn't want to be with LeBron. He wanted to be, and the Clippers might not be a bad move for him. He has enough game left. He kind of fits what Doc does a little bit, I think.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
Well, I think Cleveland plays the Jets. I think it's tomorrow, right? But I'm saying, regardless of when they play this week, they play the Jets.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm saying Cleveland probably gonna come up with a win this week. What you think?
I don't know if I go that far or not, but.
Oh, really? Okay.
Let me just see here. Let me see. What's tomorrow? Let me see here. They play tomorrow.
Yep, the Jets
at Cleveland. Yeah,
okay.
Jets at Cleveland.
So they're gonna win that game. Cleveland.
I will hold you that.
I'm saying Cleveland gonna win Thursday night. That's their first win in what, like 2.5 seasons?
Well, it seems like 20 years, but yeah, maybe 2.5 seasons. We'll see.
Okay.
Now we'll say this: they're playing better ball.
Oh yeah. Well, they would have won last week if they had like a semi kicker.
Yeah, and the Jets are struggling too, but so you might be right. I'm saying no. I think the Jets win that game.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see. I'd like to see it now. The true sports fan in me would love to see Cleveland get a win. I don't want them to go like the Buccaneers did, 0-16 or whatever it was they win. I like to see them win because they deserve a win. They've been trying, and they've been giving a heck of an effort. I'd like to see them get one.
I think that's why they did that. I think that's why they did that Thursday night game, the Jets and the Browns, because they probably figured that would be the game that they would win. That's why they put them on Thursday night, because they went up against the Jets, So
we'll see if brilliant minds were correct.
Okay, the Bills and the Vikings.
I like the Vikings.
I mean, the Bills suck. Giants and
Yeah.
Texans.
I think the Texans, the Giants in a little bit of trouble. I'm
Giants in
not
a
gonna
lot of
give them this
trouble.
one. I'm gonna say the Texans. I'm gonna say the Texans take this one.
Your second best team, the Redskins versus the Packers.
I got to go with the Packers. I'm going with the Packers on that one.
All right, 49ers and the Chiefs.
Chiefs,
Raiders and the Dolphins.
Dolphins,
Colts and the Eagles.
Eagles,
Titans and the Jaguars.
Jaguars,
Bengals and the Panthers.
Panthers,
Broncos and the Ravens.
Ravens,
Saints and the Falcons.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with the Saints. Going with Saints
Really?
on that.
Okay, I'm gonna pick the Falcons on that one. I don't know, man. The Saints,
Okay.
Saints
They
kind of funky
they
this year.
overdue. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
The-
been funky for the last years, but let's see what happens.
The Chargers and the Rams.
Now that's gonna be. I'm going with the Rams on that one.
Yeah. The Bears and the Cardinals.
I'm gonna go with the Bears.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on with Arizona. The
Yeah, they got some
Cowboys
problems.
and
They
the
got-
Seahawks.
I gotta go with them Cowboys. Seahawks did not the other night. They didn't look because they had a massive change up there. They got a lot of new faces, and I think we are playing just from last week to this week. I think we got the edge on this one.
Wow. The Patriots and the Lions.
Yeah, I'd like to go with the Lions, but I don't think they can be. Although they look better than week two, their game in week two. but
They,
I don't know.
I
if they
mean, the
can climb
old
that.
defensive coach. The old defensive coach.
Yeah, but he don't have the same weapons that they had. I got to go with. Unfortunately, I got to go with New England on that one.
Okay.
But I'd like to see Detroit knock them off.
The Steelers and the Buccaneers.
Well, all the Steeler fans, I don't mean no harm, but I'm going with the Bucks.
You going with the Bucks?
I'm going with the Bucks.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, that's that for that. So we will see. But
Now-
oh, by the way,
now-
the Seahawks is favored in that game.
Yeah, I know
against
they
the,
probably would be
Cowboys.
because I think they're playing in Seattle, aren't they?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So they're
That's why
actually favored.
Now we're 26 days away from the NBA tip-off, also.
Oh yeah. Alrighty then. Well,
And
I always say that
and I-
October is my favorite month out of the year. Mainly because here in Florida, we have great weather where the days are warm, the nights are cool, the fishing is great, and you have football, baseball, basketball, and hockey.
Boy, this was my mom's favorite time of the year, and because she loved that football, basketball, and baseball was on. She didn't care that much for hockey, but she loved football, basketball, and baseball. She could get all of that. She loved it. She was always pulling for the underdog.
Okay. All right. Well, again, I'm Charles Morris. This is the original
Carter.
Coach Carter. The original Coach Carter.
That's right.
And we come your way every Wednesday right here at www.youthcentralsports, where we talk sports and a whole lot more. And Vince has gotten to be pretty good at that 3-minute sprint. We gonna find out whoever that is, the first woman that he took to the drive-in. We're gonna.
Boy.
Yeah, we.
You gotta be careful. Gotta be careful on that one because that was promised to somebody else.
Okay. Okay, I
still
get
have
it
not
now.
been
I get it. I
forgiven
get it. I get it.
I have not been forgiven yet, and that's been years ago.
Yeah. Oh wow. Well, you know, it's funny because I think I can remember the last time I was at a drive-in. Wow. Yeah, I think
It's
I
been a
can.
while.
That was
I
yeah.
can't. I don't remember. I mean, I remember going, but I don't know what I don't know what I was looking at. I don't remember that.
You know what movie that I always remember at the drive-in? That I
What was that?
always remember? My aunt took us, and I saw this at the drive-in. The first movie was called Blood Feast. So if you ever Google that, it was a gory movie. But here I am, I'm like 11, 10, 11 years old. And my aunt takes us to the drive-in to see the Night of the Living Dead. The first movie was called Blood Feast. Then we see the Night of the Living Dead. And that's the
That's
first
a little
time
bit
that
too.
when we go home, my sister said, "Will you come sleep with me?" Because we was all scared. We was all in the room, scared to turn off the
Yeah.
lights and all this other stuff. And my sister said, "Charles, will you come sleep with me?" I was like, because now I was like, yeah.
I may not be able to remember the movie, but I believe me, it wasn't one of those because that's not one of my kind of movies. So I would not have gone
Well,
to
I
the
mean, but
movies.
see, when it was kind of weird because we had no idea what we was going to see. So we were just
Hmm.
happy that my aunt was taking us. So it was like a car load of us. And,
Yeah.
we get there. And actually, I looked that movie up, Blood Feast, because I remember it because I was only like 11 or 10. And I saw the writing. I was like, I remember it very well because it was it was a slasher movie, slashing
Right.
people in blood and da
Mhm.
da da. And then the other movie was The Night of the Living Dead. And it was like, it's like it just stayed in your mind. And, as a little kid, because now,
Yeah.
because when you're a little kid, when the lights go off, then you really all your imagination just go everywhere.
Takes over. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I remember that part.
But yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday. Oh my goodness! But there are quite a few other movies that I remember seeing. Well, I remember seeing the credits rolling anyway. But anyway, that's another
Right.
story. But I'm Charles Morris is with Vince Carter, and we would say, and again, our prayers are going out for those that is dealing with the hurricane, and blessings to my friend Val, who I talked to yesterday, said that she's dealing with cancer, so I have on my prayer list. Also, David
Right.
Washington's mother dealing with kidney problems, she's on my prayer list, and
Okay.
so. Blessings to everyone, and we're gonna check you out
Amen.
next week. And again, Seattle is favorite. Seattle is favorite. So we get to talk about
Okay.
your Cowboys next week.
Love anytime. Love to talk about them Cowboys.
All right, I'm Charles Morris with Ben Carter. Enjoy the rest of your week, people.
Good night.